Hello, micro folks. This is Mr. Hooker, and this will be our demand video for Chapter 3 in McConnell's 23rd edition. So here we go. Let me get that out. Let's start this. Let's start the show. Here we go. All right. So, markets. Markets are nothing more than an interaction between buyers and sellers. You see them all the time. Um, Walmart, Tractor Supply, Target, um, the farmers market downtown, any farmers market you go to, um, any kind of flea market you go to. Matter of fact, as I'm filming this, one caught on fire out there toward Maryville, Louisville. Um, a few days ago. So any of those flea markets, farmers markets, those are just markets. So they can be local, national, international, regional. Bojangles is kind of regional, In-N-Out Burgers regional, those kinds of things. So prices are kind of discovered in the interaction of buyers and sellers. Um, Here in the U.S., we're kind of fixed price kind of folks. Europe, you can sort of haggle on price a little bit. And South America, you can do that as well. US, you can't really do that. You can't go to Walmart, see the price is $10 and say, hey, will you take eight for this? They'll be like, yeah, you okay? It's not the same thing with that. So just one of those things with that. So the definition of demand is the ability and willingness to purchase at alternative prices a specific quantity of a good or service, ceteris paribus. So that C is kind of a hard K sound. So let's break this down. Ability and willingness. Let's start there. Means you have the money and you want the good all at the same time. There may be times that you have money, but you don't want the good. And other times you want the good, but you don't have the money. And if you don't have both of those at the same time, you have no demand. If you think of vending machines, they're, like now it's crazy. Like vending machines now are odd numbers. It used to always be $1, and things like that. But now it's like $1.25. So if you don't have the $1.25, you don't have demand. If you have the $1.25 but don't want anything that's in the vending machine, you still don't have demand. And so to purchase at alternative prices is kind of a BS clause. You will see that a little bit later when we get to supply. That's also in there. That's to make sure that you're willing to purchase at alternative price at the market price. So you'll hear people say, I would buy a new car if it cost $500. Um, you can't do that because that is not the market price of a new car. So here's where that goes. So we do the cheapest new car I've ever seen was a Yugo. That was back in the 80s. That was $3,800, almost $4,000. And that was useless. That was a terrible car. If you know, you know. In a specific quantity, one's a great place to start. If you like one, buy two. If you like two, buy three. Eventually, diminishing marginal utility will set in, and we'll talk about that here in a few chapters. So, and ceteris paribus is just the idea that all else being equal. So we want to make sure that price is the thing changing quantity demanded, not all this other stuff around around us. So we just want to make sure that if price changes, quantity demanded changes because price changed, and not all the other things that were in there. So demand is a schedular curve that shows the various amounts of a product that consumers are willing and able to purchase at each of a series of the prices. So you have a demand schedule, the demand curve. So we went over the top part, but the demand schedule is your table. The curve is the graph. So you can get it in numbers, you can get it in pictures. The amount that consumers are willing and able to purchase at a given price assumes that other things are equal. That's the ceteris paribus assumption, that there is individual demand and there is market demand. So individuals, one person, one firm. market, we are summing up all the individuals in the market and doing that. Now you are going to sum them up on the horizontal axis where quantity is at one price. So how much is each person willing to buy at $2? How much is each person willing to buy at $3? How much is each person willing to buy at $4? How much is each person willing to buy at $5? And that is how much, you sum up all of those quantities along that horizontal axis and you get the market demand. So do not sum up prices, sum up quantities. And that is that. The law of demand, other things equal, as price falls, quantity demand goes up, and as price goes up, quantity demand falls. Basically, there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. This is pretty simple, and I have my take on this in the next slide, and we'll talk about that then. But price acts as an obstacle to buyers. We have the law of diminishing marginal utility, which we talked about a couple of slides ago. The more of a good you consumed in a sitting, the less marginal utility you get out of each consecutive good. We also have the income effect and the substitution effect. So the income effect is about your real income. So as prices change, it affects your real income. So as prices go up, your real income goes down. And as prices go down, your real income goes up. And this is all about purchasing power. So as prices change, it affects your purchasing power. And as prices go up, basically, your purchasing power goes down, and therefore you are able to purchase less goods. And so this will affect you in certain ways, especially if the price of many goods goes up, then your purchasing power goes down. And so you think about this with the inflation we've experienced recently. If your budget was $200 for groceries, the amount of groceries you're able to buy over the period that 200 was for has basically dwindled. And that is due to the income effect. Okay, so I used to do an experiment with my classes. I would have them pick a charity. We'd go to the charity, get a list of consumable goods that they needed. I would give the list to my class, give them $50, and we would go out. They'd go out and buy the goods. We'd take it to Dollar General, put it in one of the Dollar General buggies because they have a small buggy, and then we would take a picture. And we would do this each semester, and you would see over time that $50 worth of goods actually gets smaller and smaller because of inflation. And so it's kind of an interesting thing. Substitution effect is all about relative price, not overall. It's just like, what is the relative price of one good versus another? So if chicken is cheaper than beef, people will substitute to chicken rather than beef and buy more chicken. And if pork is cheaper than chicken and beef, then people will substitute out of chicken and beef, if they like pork, into pork. And the idea is people will substitute into what is the relatively cheapest good to maximize their buying power. So you will always substitute into what is relatively cheapest, the relatively cheapest good for you, and buy more of that good. Quick explanation for the law of demand is people are cheap, and this isn't a bad thing. It's just the way we want to buy more of a good at a low price than any of the good at a high price, and that's what we do. That's the law of demand. So the demand curve, individual demand curve for demand here, for gasoline here, $5 we're willing to buy 10, 4.20 gallons per week, 3.35, 2.55, and 1 it's going to be 80. So let me show you this on a whiteboard, how this works. So we're going to do some things here. Come on, there you go. So we've got quantity, we've got price, we got a downward sloping demand curve. And if I put 2 points on this It's downward sloping demand curve, A and B, and we've got that right there. And we're going to move from A to B. A to B is a change, and delta is change. If I can get this to right. And quantity demanded. Okay, change in quantity demanded. Caused by a change in price. So what happens is, if we come here and call this P1, call that P2, call that Q1, and call that Q2. This happens first, and that happens second. So the first thing that happens is price falls from P1 to P2, and then quantity demanded goes up from Q1 to Q2. You go to the store and you see that the price has fallen, and then you decide, well, if it's going to be cheaper, I'll buy more. It is not that firms see that you bought more, and they's like, well, if you're going to buy more, we'll charge you less for it. It is not the way it happens. Also, this is called a movement along the curve. Okay, so that is the way that that works out. I know that. We're going to come back to this whiteboard later, so I'd rather it be slightly clean. All right. So market demand for gasoline with 3 buyers. You got Joe, Jen, and Jay. You sum up their demand at each price, 10, 12, and 8. You get 30. And then at $4, you're going to get 60, then 100, 154, and then 221. So that's how that's going to work. And then if you have a shift, if you move from one demand curve to another, you're going to have what we call a shift, not a movement. So from D1 to D2 is a shift of the demand curve. That is a change in demand, not a change in quantity demanded. This is a change in demand. And if it moves to the right, it is always an increase. If it moves to the left, it is always a decrease. Okay, this one they showed pretty well, so that's why I didn't draw it on the other one. So anything to the right, increase. Anything to the left is a decrease, and it doesn't matter whether it's demand or supply. All right, so let's look at this. This is caused by changes in the determinants of demand, of which there are 5, and here they are. First off is change in consumer taste and preferences. Now, this could be caused by fads, time, whatever. If you think about it, 10 years ago, you weren't consuming the same things you are now. New things have come out. You've grown older. Things just aren't the same. Also, fads happen. You've got the keto diet now, which is basically Atkins 2.0, which causes an increase in the demand for fat and a decrease in the demand for carbs. Change in the number of buyers. That's just, and also add to that demographics. That's just simple math. 100 people buy more than 10, 1,000 buy more than 100, 10,000 buy more than 1,000, 100,000 buy more than 10,000, and 1,000,000 buy more than 100,000. The more people you cram into an area, the more stuff you need. You also need to account for what type of people you cram into that area. You've probably seen ads before that say, hey, retire here. This is a great place to retire, yada, yada. You'll also see ads sometimes that this is a family friendly area. So both of those are different kinds of demographic um, pieces. So if you say that you're a great place to retire, you need good golf courses, good health care, those kinds of things. You need stuff for old people. If you say you're family friendly, you need things for children and young adults. So just understand what you have when you start advertising for different demographics. Change in income. There are two types of goods we need to look at when we say that. We're talking about change in income in the consumer, but we need to look at normal goods and inferior goods. If you consider yourself the average broke college student, and I don't know if you do, but if you do, you consume more inferior goods than the average bear. So let's cover inferior goods first, since I'm talking to college students. Inferior goods are those goods for which basically demand, if your income goes up, demand will go down. You'll basically say, hey, I'm going to eat these, I'm going to, use these or eat these while I'm in college. And once I get out of college and I get a real job, I am never doing this again. For me, it was ramen. I mean, I ate ramen for 3 years. My roommate and I had to scrape together the 59 cents together to get the 10 packs of ramen. People say it's good with meat, but as I said, it took two of us to get the 59 cents for the 10 packs. So there was no way in the world we were affording the meat to put in it. Um, excuse me. So some examples of inferior goods: ramen, spam, secondhand goods. They also said that during the Great Recession, '07 to '09, Subway subs proved to be an inferior good. That was probably because they were running $3 6-inch and $5 foot long, and people just realized it was good for their budget, better than other fast food places. And so it has nothing to do with the quality of the good. It's all about the price, how people react to price. Normal goods are basically, if you are consuming it and your income goes up, you will just consume more of it. So if you like shoes and your income goes up, you buy more shoes. If you like steak and your income goes up, you eat more steak. If you like clothes in general and your income goes up, you buy more clothes. Um, that's kind of the way that goes. So my wife likes plants, and as income goes up, she buys more plants. So that's where that goes. Related goods. So there we have substitutes and complements. Substitute goods are those goods that are used in place of one another. If you can't find one good, you will basically buy the other good. Or if the price of one good goes up, you'll substitute to the other good. So name brand and generic goods, PlayStation and Xbox, Ford and Chevy, Ford and Ram, however you want to go with that. Those are substitute goods. So if the price of good A goes up, the demand for its substitute good will also go up. Complementary goods are goods used together. So for those, it is basically if you go to the store, you need to buy both of them because otherwise you're going to be making a second trip. Think peanut butter and jelly, ham and cheese, hot dogs and hot dog buns, hamburger and hamburger buns, a DVD player and a DVD disc, those kinds of things. So if the price of one goes up, the demand for the other good goes down. Change in consumer expectations. One of these makes sense, one makes no sense whatsoever. So if you expect future prices to go up, you will buy what you now consider to be the lower current price. And if you expect future prices to go down, demand will currently fall, and you will wait to buy at what you believe to be the lower future price. However, future income If you believe because you heard from a friend who heard from a reliable source that you're getting a bonus or a raise in the future, you may start spending that money now, which makes no sense whatsoever. So, take that one for what you will. So there are those, and then we will stop right here and we will do supply in another video. Thank you all. Have a great day.